how to make Nigerian mackerel fish stew, perfect Nigerian titus fish stew. So delicious. You guys know Nigerian stew is made from tomatoes and different kind of peppers that builds up flavor to make the perfect Nigerian stew. So for this recipe I am using mackerel fish. In Nigeria we call it titus fish. It is so delicious. It is kind of oily and it's full of flavors. We love the taste. It is amazing and it will take your stew game to a different level. So let's go ahead and clean up the fish. This stew recipe is also called fresh fish stew, Nigerian fresh fish stew. So I'm using mackerel fish like I said before, and I want to clean it up. I'm cutting it. I love to cut my fish into smaller pieces, and I also remove the fins and remove every inside. The reason I love to cut it into smaller pieces is because when I season it, I want the seasoning to go into the fish very well and help the fish to release its original flavor into the stew. So just watch and see how it's going to turn out. Is this how you usually make your Nigerian stew? Let me know. Although there are other methods for cooking stew with fish, like you can also use dry fish, catfish, tilapia, croaker, different kind of fish stew. But for this recipe I am using fresh mackerel fish, also known as titus fish like I said before. So cutting it is not really hard as long as your knife is sharp. All you need is a sharp knife and then a good grip. Just hold the fish down and then slice it as tiny as you want or as big as you want, though some people like it big, but I love to have my fish sliced into small pieces as I am showing you guys in the video. This Nigerian fish stew recipe is something I can have over and over again, and you can eat it with white rice, yam, plantain, potato, beans, and different kind of other food that requires stew. Even in Nigeria we eat stew with bread, stew with different things, stew with gari. You can also add stew to your okra soup and eat with fufu, as in okra stew and fufu. So yeah, stew is something that you must have in your home. You must have it in your freezer, you must have it in your kitchen, especially if you're having a Nigerian party. Any African home without this Nigerian stew, I don't know what to say. Like I love to emphasize in all my videos, Nigerian food recipes is something that you can play around with. You can make it a low budget or high budget depending on how you want to please your taste bud, and it also depends on your pockets, how rich you are at that point in time. So I love to play around recipes and I love to make low budget recipes because it helps me to save money. Now the fish is nicely washed and cleaned. It's time to season. I use fish seasoning, curry powder and powder pepper. I went ahead to mix everything together and I'm going to use everything to season the fish. After that I'm going to let it rest in the freezer for about 10 to 30 minutes depending on how much time you have, and then we're going to go ahead and fry it. Although a lot of people can make fresh fish stew recipe without frying this fish. I don't know how you guys do that, but I definitely love to fry my fish, especially this mackerel fish, because it's full of flavors that I want it to be released into the oil, because I usually make use of the oil that I use in frying the fish to fry the stew. Nigerian stew is usually fried. If you hear of Nigerian stew, think of fried stew, although some people call it red stew because it's usually made from tomatoes and a lot of red peppers to be precise. While I was growing up, titus fish usually used to be the cheapest fish available. You see the way I'm mixing this fish? This is how my mother taught me. Just flip it over and the seasoning will go into the fish. Now I let it rest for about 30 minutes in the fridge. It's time to fry. So in a hot pan I'm adding oil. Once the oil is hot, or before it gets hot, I'm going to throw into the oil just half slice of onions. The reason I usually add onions to my oil is to flavor the oil before frying whatever I want to fry. I also use this when I want to fry akara, fried chicken, fried turkey, fried beef, anything I'm frying. I love to flavor the oil with onions or garlic first. So gently slide in the fish and let it fry. Once one side is fried, you have to flip over to the other side and let it fry and bring it out from the oil. Once it's golden brown, you're going to watch everything in this video, so just stay to the end, don't skip, keep watching, and make sure to replicate this video. Make sure to try out this Nigerian fish stew recipe and leave a comment or a feedback for me. I'd love to hear from you. Did you try it? How did it turn out? So let me know. Now one side is fried, I'm going to flip it over until the other side is fried before bringing it out from the oil. I'd also like to state that you can use a grill, a air fryer, or any other method of frying or grilling the fish before cooking it. I usually do not advise people to just add the fresh fish into the stew like that. It doesn't really make sense, although you can do that if you want, if you don't want to eat a lot of fried food. If you're looking for a healthier alternative, you don't have to fry the fish, but it's okay. Although I'm supposed to use a sieve to sieve out the oil while taking the fish, but I don't have the iron sieve. I only have the rubber sieve, which is not healthy for hot food. So pardon me. Once I take out all the fish, next we are going to go ahead to prepare the tomatoes to make the stew. If you are cooking with me, you know that at this stage the aroma from the fish, from the oil, from the onions should be disturbing your neighbors by now, because it is so beautiful to perceive. In fact, the scent or the aroma from this food can make you hungry. I'm telling you, because this fish is so unique. That's why it's expensive. This particular one, this size of fish, I bought it for about 1,200 naira. It usually used to be less than this. See how beautiful it is. This is perfectly fried fish. Now let us move to the next stage of the cooking. It's time to prep the tomatoes. Here I have tatashe. This tatashe can pass as bell peppers, and I have my tomatoes. It's time to blend. I also added garlic, ginger, and scotch bonnet, which is atarodo in Nigeria. I did not show that part just to quicken the video. Now it's time to blend it up. You have to work with how your blender works, because if your blender cannot take heavy stuff, you have to blend in batches. But for mine, can take as heavy as possible. It's a glass blender and it's been working for me for the past 2 years now. Time to, once it's properly blended, I'm going to pour it into a pot and I'm going to put it on stove on high heat and let it boil down until all the liquid is almost completely dried, about 90% dried, and then we're going to go ahead and fry the stew. Now this oil that we are pouring, this oil is the oil I used to fry the fish. You can see the color is different. It is already flavored oil. You don't want to underestimate the aroma from this oil. It's going to change, it's going to disturb your neighbors, I promise you that. Now it's time to fry our Nigerian mackerel fish stew, titus fish stew. I have chopped onions in here. Remember, I blended some onions with the tomatoes. If you want more onions, you can add more. You can also add garlic if you want, but I'm not really a fan of garlic, so I just use only onions. Now once the onions is fried, it's time to add the blended tomato mix. Now I want you guys to know that it is not compulsory for you to use tomato paste in your stew, but it is compulsory to use tomato paste in jollof rice. Please get that fact straight. I love to have my Nigerian stew freshly made, fresh tomatoes, fresh onions, fresh pepper, fresh fish, everything fresh, no artificial or processed food in my stew. Please, let's minimize the usage of processed ingredients in our cooking. So now I'm just going to mix everything properly, and I'm going to allow the liquid to boil down a little bit, and we're still going to fry the stew. It's been some minutes now. You can notice the oil is beginning to come up the tomatoes. Now I added seasoning cube, I crushed it, I added curry powder, bay leaf, thyme. The first one was salt, so this is the crushed seasoning cube. You can use Maggi, no, any chicken seasoning, any fish seasoning of your choice, anyone you like. So I'm just going to mix everything, and I'm still going to allow it to fry. Apart from titus fish stew, the other stew I like is goat meat stew. stew. Oh my god, it's been ages I had it. I think I'm going to make goat meat stew in my next recipe video. Just subscribe to my channel and watch out for amazing African food recipes. This is an African stew recipe. A lot of Africans make their stew like this. You can see it has been frying for a lot of time. The heat is high and it has really dried down a lot more. It is frying at this stage, no more boiling. You can see the oils are on top. This is what we call African stew, Nigerian stew. It must be fried and it has to be red. If your stew is not red, it is not a Nigerian stew. All right, now it is properly fried. Now at this stage I'm giving it a very good mix because I left it to fry for a long time. After this stage I'm going to also go ahead and add a little amount of salt because I tasted it and the salt I added was not enough, so I just added a little bit of salt and a little bit of seasoning cube. Then I'm just going to go ahead and add the fish. But at this stage, if you have a fish stock or chicken stock, you can add a little, but I don't have because I did not pre-cook, I did not parboil the fish. So I'm just going to go ahead and mix it very well before adding our fried mackerel fish, fried titus fish. I keep repeating the word titus because a lot of my viewers are from Nigeria, or Nigerians and Africans, and we know that this fish is titus fish. Just few people know it as mackerel fish. So this is the titus fish, is just the popular street name of the way we can recognize this fish in Nigeria. So after I add the fish, I'm just going to gently fold it in and let it simmer on a very low heat for about 10 minutes. Let everything release their flavor together. The fish will release its flavor into the tomatoes and the tomatoes will release its flavor into the fish, and everything marry themselves together. Our food is delicious. You can serve this with rice, yam, potato, plantain. Don't forget to like, share and leave a comment, and also do not forget to subscribe to my channel. I share a lot of African food recipes, Nigerian food recipes. It is